Okay, so we are on the green circuit training unit 1B calculator. I'm going to add, so that's a no. I'm going to add a calculator, and I'm going to add a graph. And I'm going to type this in. So remember, if you want to get the fraction there first, so that you don't have to worry about parentheses, if you do control divide, that gives you an empty fraction. So we can put 4.3x in the numerator, x squared plus 7 in the denominator. And then for the second one, it's 3.5. What? You can go ahead and find the intersection. Yeah, minus x to the third. So that's what our graphs look like. And then we want to find the intersection. Let's analyze 4. And then we get on the left-hand side. See, I figured it out. Except I don't think it lets me tell. Oh, it does. Okay. And then I move over here. Oh, nope. See, I can sort of use the graph. So I got to do mine again. Menu, 6, 4. Okay. So I get this to the left of it. That's my lower bound. Then I get it to the right of it. That's my upper bound. And then we have the intersection. Okay. You should have an ordered pair. Now, does anybody see less decimal places than what I have? Okay, so do you have one of my calculators? Okay, which means you haven't changed your settings like you were supposed to, but that's okay. I'm going to show you why it's okay, and then we're going to make sure we change it, okay? So how many do you see? 2? 3? Okay. So, which we're supposed to be accurate to 3 decimal places, right? But this is where some things went off the rails a little bit yesterday. We're supposed to be accurate to 3. What have I suggested you write down? 4. Okay. So all you really had to do with this information yesterday was add some of them, right? And if we write down 4 and we add them, then we're usually right to 3. But when we are using rounded numbers, most of the time we're not just adding them. We're doing other things to them. And you should never, ever, 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 ever type back in decimals when you just wrote down some of them. Now, if you get like 1.75 and that's what you get, that's a different story, okay? But we're going to talk about storing the answers. So yesterday, if you wrote down at least 4 and then you typed them back in, you should have gotten maybe the right thing. But if you just did 3, you probably didn't. And even if you write down 4, sometimes when you do other things with that information, you're not going to get what you want, okay? So, okay, so we are going to, so what we're supposed to do on this one, it says to move on, we have to find the sum of the coordinates. Now, whether you can see 2 decimal places, 3 decimal places, 5 decimal places, whatever, it doesn't matter how many you can see, the calculator has an infinite amount of them stored or knows what it is, okay? So we're going to store these. So to do that, you're going to use your trackpad and you're going to get the hand just right over that. And we're not going to grab anything, right? Because yesterday, did you have to move some ordered pairs? Because they were in the way, but remember you put the hand, you can grab it, you can move it. We're not grabbing anything. It's just sitting on top of it. Everybody got their hand on top of the X value? Okay, so now with it just hovering over there, you're going to hit the variable key, which is right above 9, then 1 for store value. Then you can store it wherever you want. Since it's the X value, I'll call it X. If I had multiple X values, I might call them A, B, and C. And then you hit enter. Now it's bolded, and that means that it's stored. Okay? So then we're going to do the same thing for Y. So we're going to move our little hand. It's just over it. And then there are other ways where you can highlight and stuff, but it's very tricky about how you touch things. This, to me, is the easiest way. You hit variable for store, 1 for store variable. We're going to call it Y. Hit enter. Okay? So now they're both stored. Are we all good? Yeah? Okay. So now we're going to go to the calculator screen. If you didn't already add a calculator, go ahead and add one now. But I'm going to go to this calculator screen. Now, the first 2 things I'm doing, you don't necessarily have to do. But if you ever question whether or not you really stored it or you knew what you were doing, you can hit X and hit enter, Y and hit enter, and you should still see tons of decimal places, right? Even if you only saw a couple on the graph screen, right? So, but again, we don't want to actually do anything with our rounded numbers. But on the calculator, I can just do X plus Y. That gives me the answer I actually want. Write down 4 decimal places. I know all of these answers have 3, but write down 4 and go from there. Now, let's say that these weren't stored numbers, okay? We're just going to pretend for a minute. We just calculated 3 different things that we want to add together, which is not what we want for this because we're pretending right now, right? Because yes, I know I could use x, y, and z, x, y, and x plus y again. But if I want to add these 3 numbers together and they're not stored, then I can arrow up to that one and I can hit enter and it puts it right there. And then I can do plus and I can arrow up and I can grab that one and hit enter. And then I can add that to the one right before it and hit enter. And it just puts them there for me without storing things. Does that make sense to you? From the calculator screen, you have to store it. But sometimes, and there's one of these on here, where you have to find 3 things on this screen, and then you have to add them together. You can just grab them like that. And even if we did write down this many decimals, then we'd be fine. We'd totally be accurate to 3. But there's no need to type all that in. It just grabs it for you, and then that's the total, which means nothing and is not this answer, but just showing you how the calculator works. Okay, we good with that? All right, so to fix the other, so what happens if you grab one of my calculators, which I will go through and fix all of them, I just haven't had a chance. I can push through, like the way I put them in test mode, I can push through the document settings here to have this on float. I cannot figure out, I don't think I can push through the graph screen, but if your graph screen did not give you 5 decimal places like this did, then here's what you want to do. You with me? We're going to hit menu on the graph screen. You're going to hit menu, 9 for settings. You want that first one to be float 6. You can make it float, but that's just too many. The other thing you want to make sure is checked are these 2, because then you won't have extra stuff on your screen that's in your way. If you have an option for make default, do that. If you don't, then it's just okay. All right. So if that wasn't changed, one of 2 things happened. Either you didn't make default when we did it together, or you may not have done it at all. So John, also make sure that on this screen, on 5 for settings, 2 for document settings, and make sure that's at float, so you're not getting weird things. Okay. All right. Are we all good on all that? Okay, so practice storing stuff and grabbing those numbers and making your life easier. The more you understand and practice with this, the less stressful it's going to be when you have to actually do it, okay? We good? Awesome.